Hello everyone and welcome back to Angie B Cards and Crafts. So today I decided that I'd have a look at what I can do with some of my scraps of paper. So I've got some MDF and I've got an art journal. So they're kind of the two options for what I'm going to work in. And then I've just picked up a wad of paper. Most of these are pieces that have been done on the gel press. So this is gel press with gloss sprays. These are some more gel press with gloss sprays. That looks like gloss sprays with stencils. More gloss sprays with stencils. Apparently this was when I was doing gloss sprays. So I've literally just picked these up. I don't know what's in it. Oh, I do like that. I love that stencil. I like that one. That's using Emma Blake's stencil. Circles Not Circles, again another of my favourite stencils. That other one, that orange one, is using the JMC Designs stencil. Right, so I've got some interesting colours going on. That's a circle stencil. Oh, that one I've started to add other textures to. Oh, that might be interesting to form part of the base. This is a piece of Clever Cuts paper that has got these, get it the right way up, the chandeliers are printed on, but this is their shiny paper, but I've used gloss sprays again. Oh, this is packaging. This is off a Pretty Gets Gritty stencil or stamp set. This is the packaging you get, which I think is rather cool. That one looks like it's, yeah, that's alcohol inks. And these ones are they're on craft card as opposed to on white card. These top ones are, looking at them, I would say they're acrylics, and these two are actually alcohol inks on the gel press. These ones are with the gel press as well, these two. So first things first is choose a colour scheme that I like, which is going to be influenced by which of these images. You know what, I'm really drawn to this. It's a lovely reddy orange. I'm liking the look of that, so I think that'll be form some part of it. I think that's going to be too bright, so we'll get rid of that. I think that one might be useful, so just tear that off so it can go with it. Not sure these are going to be the right colours. Possibly. I think I should bring that colour in. I might have to do 2 videos doing this because I'm quite liking some of these, but they're not all that goes. Keep that main colour scheme uncovered so I can directly compare. I think that's got colours in it that would work. Not so much. No. Right, so I've got a few sheets and I'm going to start off, I think, with my journal and decide what we're going to. I don't think that's going to be used on this one. I might use it on another one. Right, so the journal I'm using is a Pink Pig journal. You'll see me use these all the time. They're my favourite brand of journal generally. I just need to find a blank page because there's all sorts of other things in here. That's one. I can use that one. So you'll notice I don't work just on a single page in my journal and work my way through it one page after another. I literally find a page and work on that page. So this is the page we're going to work on. And to make it easier, I am going to open it out like that. So just ignore what's going on here. You can have a look at it if you want to. There you go. That's done with All and Create stamps. Had quite fun doing that. Anyway, by the by, so we're going to start off with this colour and let's see what we can make. First things first, let's tear it up a little bit. I remember when I first got into crafting and I heard people saying, tear your papers up. It's like, no. Why would I tear up my papers? I want to keep my papers pristine and beautiful. But in actual fact, tearing them up is really beneficial to enabling you to use them. I have that here. Want that piece across, but I quite like having the rough edge. So when you're thinking about whether you want the rough edge, you'll see here you've got this edge has got paint to the edge of it because it's come off the front of this one. So the piece that you want to show is the piece that comes towards you. So I want to show this now. So I turn the card round. I know I want to show this. So I'm going to pull towards me and it exposes that rawness. I'm not going to use the line like that. I'm actually going to use the bit without a line on. So I want to expose that rawness all the way around. So you need to turn your card. If I was now to start, if I kept it like that and pulled it towards me, I'd get a clean edge on this one because I'm pulling it off that side. So just figure out what it is you're trying to achieve. Doing this means that I now have a piece that can go there, like that. Now I haven't gotten anything else ready to go with this because I haven't decided what I was going to do. Now I've got a vague idea of the colour scheme, I can start pulling some other things in. So I'm thinking I'm going to go with distress inks rather than oxides because this is quite a chalky look. So I'm going to go with the distress inks because they're not as chalky. And let's go with blues. What blues do we have? We have broken china. We've got little hints of darker blue going on. So I'm going to pull in chipped sapphire because that's kind of a bluey purple. Something a little bit paler. Spun sugar. I think that might work because this, although it looks whitish, it has got some white in with it, but it's also got the orangey red, so we're getting a little bit of pink. So I'm thinking that those three colours might look quite nice in the background. Right, so put those to one side and let's get a couple of brushes. So these are my lovely brand new brushes. I do this every time I play with them. I just love the feel of them. They're really, really, I don't know if you can see on the video, there's just lots and lots and lots of bristles and they feel so nice and soft. Right, so I'm just going to stick some colour onto the page just as a starting point. I'm not worrying about where it's going to go. It's just a base to put the other stuff on top, just to remove some of the actual white. People talk about leaving white space, and that's fine, but it's not necessarily having to be white space, which is a bit contradictory. But the concept of white space is that you actually have something which doesn't give interest to the eye. And if it doesn't give interest to the eye, it's like white noise. It's noise. It's not the colour white, but it's noise that doesn't give interest to the ears and to the brain. So it's kind of neutral. And you're doing the same with your white space. You're neutralising that space. So some of this may well end up being white space because it's not going to have anything else on it. And again, it might not, because I'm not brilliant at leaving white space. I like to cover everything. All right, so I've done the lighter blue first, and then I can go on to the darker blue with the same brush. And I'm not worrying too much about where it goes, because I know that I'm going to be covering up a lot of it, but I do want to get some colour in and around. So let's see how that goes. Yeah, I'm liking that. I'm liking the fact we don't have any of the red as well, because the red then stands out more. So I'm going to use the darker blue around these edges, just to make that pop a little bit. And I'm going to do the same on the edges that haven't got the rawness. And you'll see that there's a difference in how the two look. Right. I always have to grunge things up. Now that is slightly too long, so I'm going to shorten it. But again, I want to make sure that I've got the colour on the top on this one as opposed to the raw edge. So I need to tear the bit towards me so that then you get the colour. Yeah. So the bit you want to keep pristine, you don't want to tear into it or tear it. There we go. Let's pop a little bit of this darker on here as well. And you can do this any way you want to, really. You can do it as I'm doing it here. I've just realised I've not got one of my lights, and let me just pop this on. Oh, that makes it look so much better. So you can see that colour is coming onto it. You can do it. So you can do it like this. You can do it with a sponge. You can do it onto a blending mat and sort of colour in on it. This is just a quick way of getting some colour onto the edge. If you're being particular about where you want the colour to go, then you probably need to do it on a flat surface, bringing the colour on gently. As you can see, I'm literally just slapping this on. I'm not worried about whether it goes further in some areas and not as far in others. I'm just edging this torn piece of paper. Sure. Now I'm looking at that and thinking that I'm not sure I like that pale pink. So I want something a little bit darker to go over that. I'm not a fan of it. What should we have? What would happen if we added in an orange? Let's try it. Don't know what'll happen, but we'll give it a go. I do have an orangey coloured one of these. I'm going to add it on top of the pink because I want to get rid of that pinky colour. So you're not going to get the true colour coming through anyway because it's on top of another colour, so it's going to mix. I quite like that. I think that's a better, yeah, that's a better tone for that. So then I'm going to put a little bit more down here. And just let's get rid of that pink. Decided it didn't work, and that's one of the things that you can do with any piece that you're doing. Just change your mind. It is your piece, it is you that's working on it, so you can choose entirely what goes on it. That looks better because we have got some hints, because there's some brown showing through. We've got some little hints of orange. What we can do is just add some little bits of orange on top as well. Just very gently, not putting it all over, but just bringing that tone in a little bit more because it is distressing. It's translucent-ish, so it's not going to give you a solid colour. Oh yes, oh yeah, as the Churchill advert dog would say. I rather like that. Right, so let's stick these down. In fact, yeah, we will stick them down. Yes. Right, so sticking them down today, I am using gel medium. The one I am choosing to use is Liquitex. So I'm using this one because I'm not bothered about whether or not it's clear when it dries, because it's going to be underneath what I'm doing. If you need it to be clear because it's going to be showing through, then use a different brand because this one doesn't dry clear. You tend to find the matte gel mediums don't dry clear, and it's something to do with the sciencey bit of it, of how they actually manufacture it. So the matte ones have got, I don't know what the content is, but there's something within them that prevents them from drying totally clear. So if you want totally clear, you're going to have to really look at getting a gloss one. So just be aware of that when you are purchasing your gel mediums. I do use this one purely because this is the matte one that I've got, and the other one, the gloss one that I have, is the Pretty Gets Gritty one. And they both do the job well. It's just whether or not you want them to dry matte or gloss. So I've not gone right to the edges, and there is a reason for that. It's not just laziness. If you go right to the edges and then you decide you want to stick something underneath, it's troublesome. If you're not right to the edges and you want to stick something underneath, you can just pick it up. The other thing with gel medium compared to other wet glue is that the gel medium is actually slower drying. So be aware of that. So I can now choose to change my mind and lift this off, and it's not going to rip the paper. So you've got an extra few minutes of playing time, if you like. Okay, I want to put some stamping on there. So let me just have a look and see what stamps I want to go for. The ones that I haven't used for a while, I think. Let's see. Oh, I quite like that. Just use the head of that flower. Might use it there because it'll go on that way. So if I use the head of that flower, that would look quite pretty. Yes, I'll use that. Let's see what else I'm going to use. I think a butterfly would look rather nice. Yeah, and we can use the others in the background. Okay. Let me get a stamping block. So my old favourite, All and Create acrylic stamping block. It is my go-to for stamping. Now, having said that, I don't know that I'm going to use it on this one. Let's move it over and see if I can get it to hit where I want it to hit. One of the things that I tend to forget, don't know why, is that you can actually have your stamp right on the edge of your block. And I always tend to put it in the middle and then go, oh, it won't fit in that gap. So a hint from someone who's learned, just pop it on the edge of the block and then you can fit it in places you wouldn't otherwise get it in. So what you can choose to do if you're doing things like this is do your stamping underneath your top layer, or as I've just done, you can stamp around it. It's entirely down to personal choice. And I love that that's just there. I'm not going to add any more of that because I really like the way that looks on the page. I'm going to get my big butterfly. These, I don't actually know where these ones are from. There's a possibility that they are indigo blue or All and Create. I'm really not sure. Right. So to get my butterfly to stamp, I'm just going to move it along slightly further. Now there's a really, if you think about how you store stamps, I would suggest don't do it the way I do it, because I do it basically just very messily. Once in a blue moon, I will decide, oh, I'm going to sort my stamps, but it is literally once in a blue moon. It doesn't happen on a regular basis or anywhere near as often as it should. It is just, oh, I'll sort my stamps today, and that's it. Maybe once in a year. That's how infrequent it is. But there is Shiny Silver Treasures. Dawn Ditchburn does a really cool video that I've just watched this week about how to organise your stamps using CD cases. It's so organised. I don't think I would have the patience to do it, but my word, it looks good. She catalogues them all, stores them all into cases. It's brilliant. So I'm taking a little bit longer stamping this because this is acrylic paint, and acrylic paint is plastic. So if you're stamping on top of plastic, it's going to be more difficult for the paint to absorb. I haven't got a complete image, and that's kind of what I was hoping for, because this is looking a little bit distressed and worn. I didn't then want a really clear image. These are clear because this isn't as distressed and worn. So I'm quite pleased with the fact that we've got some of the wings not quite there, but you can tell it's a butterfly. And I like the way it's overlapped here and here as well. Rather nice. So yeah, your acrylic inks, your acrylic paints or inks will have the plastic in them, which prevents them from necessarily stamping quite as easily on top of. So just give it time to transfer over. Now, I know this doesn't fit, and that's fine, because I'm only actually wanting to put it here. I'm actually going to put it face down, pick it up like that, not worry about this floppy end, because we're not using it, and just move that off there, because the tapping noise is annoying me. Pop some ink onto the stamp. So this stamp is from JMC Designs, Julia McNeil. I do love this stamp. I love all her stamps, but a lot of them are characters, and you won't see me use an awful lot of characters. But this flower is a nice big size, and one of the other things that I love about it is that it's really easy to cut out, because I'm not a cutter-outerer. It's not something that I am particularly good at. Right, so I can see that I've come down here a little bit, and I didn't really want to do that, but I'm not overly worried, because what we can do is actually add in some texture stamping to hide it. But I don't know if I will, actually. I'll come back to that in a moment. What I'm going to do now is just colour in my flower, and to do that I'm going to do it just using some pencils. So these are Inktense watercolour pencils from Derwent. Just put the ones I used yesterday back in the box. These are really cool pencils. I don't have any other watercolour pencils to compare them with, so I can't say these are the best ones to get, but these were ones that were recommended to me when I was starting out. And what I like about them is you can use them as if they're just a normal watercolour and just pick the colour off and then colour in. I'm using a water brush with them. So you water brush because you're adding a watercolour with water on top of acrylic. You're going to get some beading up of the colours, but it's still going to give it some coverage. But yeah, these are the ones that I can't remember who it was recommended them to me, but it was recommended to me way back when. So I got a set of them. I've had them a couple of years now. And I rather like them. Rather like them. I think they do what it says on the tin, quite literally. They are pencils that act as watercolours. They react in the same way with water. You can choose to put the colour down first and then move it around, or you can do as I'm doing and put them down straight with a brush. But the other thing that you can do is just colour with them. Don't add water at all and just use them as normal colouring pencils, which is rather clever. I think I need to improve my repertoire of songs because I'm annoying myself with keep going. But that is what I tend to sing as I'm crafting. I don't tend to have music on. One of my favourite things to do is to have a box set on in the background. Admittedly, it's almost like having an audio book because I very rarely lift my head up to watch what's going on. Oh, I like how that looks. Now, to get a more intense colour on here, I'm going to go straight in with the pencil so you can see you get a different look going in with the pencil. And I am going to then attack it with a water brush, but we're going to get it laid down as a darker colour first. So you can really see the difference there of when you add on the pencil direct to it. I quite like that. But what I'm thinking is we could then do with some little bits coming out like this. So I'm going to add in some extra colour just to add interest to the flower petals. I quite like how that looks. Right, cleaning your water brush. I very simply get the water brush onto a raggy, give it a squirt, and give it a wash until it comes up clear. That's it, clean. Not very complicated. Just knocking things off my desk. Oh dear. Right, I'm thinking we can bring some of this yellowy orange in with some pencils, just by adding it in. No, I'll do it like this. I quite like the way that's come out. There we go, and adding it on the inside there. Just to pull that little colour in, because I didn't actually think in the end it went terribly well, but now it does, because we've added it in. Oh, I'm liking how that's looking. Interesting. Right. So what else do we need on here? We could do with the sentiment, really. And I'm thinking a sentiment stamped onto a spare piece of this might be good. I'm not adding any colour to the butterfly. I'm liking the fact that the butterfly is black. I'll move my stamp out of the way. Again, I'm just going to stick with the same stamp set. And this says, live life now, which is excellent advice. Live in the now. Best way to live. And we'll go with the black. I'm just thinking to make it stand out. If I can find, oh, there's my embossing powder. I'll use my embossing powder. Make it stand out. What I'm going to do is when I'm using the heat tool, I'm not going to say anything because I know that my voice goes a little bit funny when I do. Yeah, we'll go with it on the blue, across that blue section. Just realised I'm doing this off camera. Let me move it up slightly. There we go. So again, remember I'm stamping onto acrylic paint, so I'm giving it plenty of time for the ink to transfer over onto the paint and make its self known, its presence known on there. This is just clear embossing powder, my very bitty tub thereof. Just chuck a little bit extra there, it doesn't look like it's stuck as much. There we go, and then it's the heat gun. So I'm just going to turn the heat gun on, so I'm going to be quiet for a second while we do this. Well, I would if I plugged my heat gun in. Done. So I still find heat embossing one of the best things in crafting. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Everything's torn. Do I want a neat edge on this? I don't think I do. Right. So that I can see where I'm tearing, I'm doing it, pulling the top edge towards me. So I'm getting a nice rough edge, but it's not exposed. And then go around it again with the blue, which, where have I put the blue? Oh, there it is. Hidden it in a pile up here. Anyone else find that their workspace just shrinks and shrinks and shrinks until you're working in the smallest space and everything else starts to hit the deck? Start off with a perfectly clear desk at the beginning of a video and end up with chaos by the end of a video. I'm going to add a slightly darker colour into this one because I want it to pop out. I'm still just using the same ink, and all I'm doing is just doing a second layer of it because I want it to be the main focus of the page. Live life now. If we don't live in the moment, then we end up with worries, don't we? Quite like that. Quite like it. Now, what I do think it needs is some whiteness around it, just to help it to stand out. So I'm going to put a little internal frame just around this piece. I'm not worrying about it being straight. If you've seen any of my videos, you will understand that me and straight lines just don't happen. I just don't do them. So you can see here we're getting a little bit of colour turning, and the only reason for that is that I've put liquid on top of the distress ink, and distress ink is water reactive, so that's why we're getting a different colour. But I just wanted it to stand out a little bit, so I'm thinking that can go there. But I want it to stand out a little bit more. Now I did have some black card. No, not you. Where did I put it? Oh, there it is. I've just got some black cards. I've had this stash for so long now. I'm thinking actually, if I do that onto black card, but cut the card relatively straight, that might be interesting. I'm going to stick it onto the card with tape, just because it's a dry glue. I do love my double-sided tape. As a kid, I never appreciated the use of double-sided tape on Blue Peter, but these days it is something which I use rather a lot of. And I never panic if I overlap like that, because as soon as you peel off the sticky, they stick to each other anyway, so don't panic about it. So that's not going to do anything until I peel off this cover, like so, and then that will just stick on top of the piece next to it, which is fine. Right, pop that on there, get a pair of scissors. Now I just want a little edge. I want a crisp edge, but obviously not a straight edge, because that would go against everything I do in craft. Quite liking that. But I think again we can add more interest just with a white pen. So just taking it around the edge. Quite simple. Around the edge. Oh, I'm liking that now. Right, I still need to figure out what I'm going to do down here. I'm thinking actually a little piece, another little piece of the paper coming down might be the solution. Yeah. You can always add bits in. There's no such thing as an accident. It's just a learning experience, a learning opportunity, or a happy accident. I regularly call things happy accidents. Yeah, I quite like that coming down. I think I want it a little bit shorter. It's wide enough to cover the little faux pas. Add A little bit of the blue. There's always ways around things. And little pieces of ephemera are really useful to just add in as and when required. One of my favourite go-to ones is cogs. I add cogs into all sorts of weird and wonderful things. I'm just going to use the tape again. Now, if you cut off too much, one of the things with this that's really cool is you just stick it back on, and then that's there ready for your next use. I do really love my double-sided tape. Oh, I know what else I can add on. Something else, which I could have used instead of this, actually. I'm going to use this now. Is the wonders of washi tape. Oh, I don't know what I need it on this piece. Right, I need an overall border because nothing's ever complete unless it's properly outlined. So most of the work that I do ends up with black and white pen on it. The black pen that I use tends to just be a, oh, I've not stuck that on yet, a fine marker, fine liner. Forgot I haven't stuck that on. So we use that spare piece we have left. So this is just kind of the methodology that I use when I'm making a piece. I don't plan things terribly. It's just like, what piece do I want to use up? What piece of paper do I want to use? I've got another one that I'm going to do a video on about. It's a paper pack that I absolutely love, but I never know what to do with it. So it's just sat there. I've used the odd little piece of a page out of it, and I've had it a couple of years now. So I just want to figure out what I can do with it. So if I challenge myself to do a video on it, then that's going to make me use it up. I'm just thinking we can, in fact, do we want to do that? No, I don't think we do. We'll leave that as an imaginary stem. But what I am going to do is do my edge. Sorry, I got sidetracked there. What I always do on my pieces is put an edge on. It's a frame, it's for drawing the eye in. It's never a straight line, it's just a wiggle. There's different ways of doing it. You'll find different artists and different crafters have their own preferred one, but this is my go-to one, and it's got some scribbly writing. Sometimes I make it say something, but other times I just scribble whatever. It looks like a really cool signature. I could have been a doctor. There we go. And then going back to the white pen, I want to add in some highlights on the flower because this is dried off now. So I'm just wanting to add in some little bits of colour. I'm not worrying about whether or not it's in line with the source of light. I'm just adding in a bit of highlight. Again, just a bit of interest. It doesn't have to be accurate placement because we're not doing a perfect work of art. We're doing a fun, crafty page. Oh, I quite like that how that's turned out. So having that orange in the background, because we've pulled it in here, it doesn't look quite as strange because we've pulled the colour in, and there are hints of orange throughout the page because we put some on top as well. So there you have a finished page. I hope you enjoyed that, and hopefully I will see you again in my next video. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.